And then when this is over, you'll have a YouTube video. Yeah, looks like it's good to go. I'll show you at the end.
Do I need to go back to that and like turn it on or something?
Nope, don't have to do a thing.
It's just gonna go. Oh, here it is. And then at the end, I just click it off.
Yep. So you'll want to remember, you'll close that tab, the YouTube tab. You'll have a YouTube video.
How do I get rid of all that?
Looks like it's good to go. I'll show you at the end. Close the tab for YouTube. Just X that one.
It's just gonna go. Oh, here it is. And then at the end, I just click it off. You think that's really funny.
Well, I just find it, I mean, we've done this before, so it entertains me that.
We will do it again.
I know. It's like Groundhog Day over here. You're like, I've seen you in Zoom before.
So it's that easy? That's it?
Yeah. Well, if you want to do this on the fly, but the way that we're doing it, by creating an event, you have to do it in advance with all those settings.
So what I would love from you, as I think I've mentioned, is a step-by-step. Did y'all get the poll? Okay, it's 6:01. We're gonna wait a few minutes. I apologize for holding y'all up, but I'd like to have as much participation as possible. Could everybody please do me a huge favor? I want to see your faces. Can you please turn on your cameras? Tejas, so good to see you. How's that EE coming along?
Smoothly.
Good.
Enjoying it.
Let me ask you this. You can say no, by the way, okay? Yours is a story of potential despair that turned into victory. Would you mind sharing it with us tonight?
Yeah, of course. Should I do it right now, or should I wait for a couple people?
I'm gonna put you after Heidi.
Okay.
You'll see it on the PowerPoint, but I don't have your name on there yet.
Okay, that's fine. I'll be glad to do that.
Okay, you're the best. Thank you. All right, everybody. Love to see you. Helena and Owen and Isaac and Amanda, Pierre, Abhinav, Matthew, Richard. Nice. Anybody else willing to show their beautiful face? I know it's awkward. If you can't, you can't. No big deal. Got Mr. Stillman in the house. Let's have snaps and claps for Mr. Stillman. Come on, let me see it. Let me see it. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Lou. I got you. Lou, is that a question or a claps? You can just respond in the chat.
Just a clap.
Oh, okay. I've had many arguments with people over whether it's a raised hand or a clap. What do y'all think? Clap. Why are we snapping? Mr. Stillman wants to know why we're snapping. He's entered the room and he wonders, why are they snapping? Can somebody please explain this to Mr. Stillman? Helena, you have any interest in explaining to Mr. Stillman why when he enters the room, people snap and clap?
Because he's amazing.
Duh! That was the right answer. That should be my poll. How amazing is Mr. Stillman? Number one, extremely. Number two, magnificently. Number three, ridiculous. I called you here together tonight to compile members of the Mr. Stillman fan club. False pretenses, Mr. Stillman. I told you this was going to be about the extended essay. But this is your life. Stillman, you remember that television show?
I do. Can I tell a funny Zoom story
Please.
as we're waiting? So the other day, I've been on Zoom a lot over the last couple of weeks, guys. And so the other day I said to my wife, I said, I'm really tired of looking at myself on Zoom. And she said, you know, there's a setting for that. And I said, oh, I've got the settings wrong. Can you come over here and help me get the settings right? And she came over and started playing with the settings. And she said, I'm sorry, I have to tell you this. The setting is already on.
What, like a filter?
It's supposed to be a filter that's making you look good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dustin Hoffman was in a movie called Tootsie. And in the movie, he plays a man who's having a hard time getting roles. So he decides to dress as a woman. This is from the, what, early 80s? And when he was in costuming for the film, you know, they made him up to look like a woman. And he was just really defeated when he saw himself for the first time. He said to the makeup people, can't you make me look prettier? That's what you got.
Yep.
Stillman, we think you look pretty.
I appreciate that. And you know, I did too before I started looking at myself for 8 hours a day. And now I notice every flaw.
You can't really see many flaws.
No, you really can't. You really can't.
Mr. John has a pretty rosy complexion on the Zoom.
I like, yeah, he's got a good setup there with the backlight.
Also, Stillman, I think you've got a smudge on your camera.
That could be it. Let me re-smudge it.
Oh, so much. Well, no.
Folks, this is all to say that no matter what you're feeling like, you're looking better than this. And you should turn the camera on because this is already hard. And it's even harder when you don't have it on, right? To get that feeling of co-presence.
And I understand that right now you might not have access to filters. So if you're feeling really self-conscious today, or if you're feeling self-conscious about your setting, I understand. But really, I would just so love to see your faces. Like, it moves my heart. This has been painful for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand how uncomfortable it might be, but at the same time.
There it is, beautiful. They're answering our cries.
Some are. Got 2 pages that are not. Oh, well. Could I, yeah, okay. I'm gonna go ahead and get started then. Is that okay? Oh, before I do that, poll, we've got 36% fantastic, 67% okay, and 0 not so great. 0. All right, you get snaps and claps from me. Thank you. I'm glad you're doing okay. This is just the most ridiculous, horrible thing any of us will hopefully have to live through. Hey, page 2, thank you for having your cameras on. Page 3, you're killing me. And it's good to see that you're hanging in there and that you're practicing your self-management skills that help you stay sane in this very, very difficult time. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that I can pull up for you. Hold on. The PowerPoint. Which was up, but then disappeared. So if Mr. Stillman has been having a lot of Zooms and being in charge of them, I have been attending a lot of Zooms. And as I attend Zooms, one of the things I notice is that my colleagues are so calm about the technological issues, and I am not. So here we go. Ta-da! IB program extended essay. You remember our theme, don't stop believing. It's nice to see you. Don't stop believing. We can do this. This is hard, very hard. But to allay your fears and bring you some inspiration, we'll start with Mr. Stillman, who once again gets snaps and claps. I can't see it because I'm sharing my screen, but I know you're out there. Okay, thank you, Stillman.
Hey, everybody. It's great to be back. And I'm really happy to be here tonight with the historic class of 2021. And you all are truly an historic class. This is a unique situation that we're all going through and living through. And it's going to be a unique year. And it's going to be something that I hope everyone, you guys and us and everyone around you is going to embrace. This is going to be something totally different. And it's going to be something you're going to tell your grandkids about. Let's be honest, right? Start keeping a diary because this is going to be different. And we're layering this unique circumstance onto something that's already a really hard thing. And that really hard thing is the IB diploma senior year. I've sometimes described this as 11 hoops of fire. Perhaps you've been to a circus and you've seen a tiger jump through a hoop of fire. And they leap through this dangerous thing, but because they are so prepared for it, they seem to magically glide through this and land on the other side without even being singed. And it's an incredible feat. And in the senior year, you have 11 of these. There are 6 IAs. There is a TOK paper. There's a CAS requirement. Where are we at now? 8. There's your exams at the end of the year. That's 9. You've got the prom, which is a big thing in and of itself. And then that's 10. And then finally, you've got the extended essay, 11. You have 11 big things that you've got to jump through this year. And that's a lot. It's a lot for anybody, right? Doing it during COVID and being a teenager and taking care of everything at the same time makes it even harder. The only way you get through a hoop of fire is by getting a running start. You need to get that running start in order to jump through. And that's a really hard thing for anyone to do because most people, including many of you, are probably better at short-term priorities than you are at long-term priorities. We all tend to be really good at the urgent things. And we live our lives in this kind of perpetual state of agitation, trying to take care of that next thing, right? I got this assignment due tomorrow. And as a result, we push back those long-term priorities until the end. That's human nature. But you have to improve that in order to maintain a sense of calm and get the most you can out of a long-term project like the extended essay. You need to have a running start in order to get through the hoop. Now, the good news is we got a few days before school starts. And we've got a couple of weeks, is that right, before the deadline?
Yeah.
But it's really important, right, that you make this thing a priority. And across the year, it's making everything a priority in its place because the deadlines are going to start piling up very soon. And you're going to find that you don't have time between September and December to give this the attention it deserves. And what it needs from you is a couple good days of you thinking about what your argument is and getting it down on paper so then you can begin to refine it with some help. But that's really got to happen now. So my words of inspiration are, right, it feels like this is just starting, but if you don't get a running start, it's going to be harder than it needs to be. And getting through this hoop gets harder. So let's get this running start going.
Thank you, Mr. Stillman. Excellent analogy with the hoops. All right, moving on. So here's what we want from you. We want you most of all, more important than anything, to stay healthy, physically and mentally. And please, if you're ever suffering in any way, let us know and let us know how we can help and what we can do to ease your way, because your health and well-being is more important than anything. We also want you to complete your assignments and attend all of your classes and advisory. You'll learn more about that next week. We want you to complete your IAs per the deadlines and your EE. We want you to complete your college applications. And we do recognize that there are times when it feels like college is way more important than high school, because it is. But we still need to keep up with high school. And hopefully, I'm making this up, but let's dream that we're going to have an in-person graduation. And if that happens, I don't know that they'll even be able to ask you up one at a time to get your diplomas, because you all will be hugging. And I can't wait to see it. It is a senior year like never before. As Mr. Stillman said, it's historic. Let's do it right. Oh, Mr. Stillman has already been inspiring. So just the basics. Once again, I know I shared this very slide with you back in February. 4,000 word maximum. Supervisor isn't going to edit. Supervisor should help 3 to 5 hours. You've got to do your reflection on planning and progress. That's 150 words for the first one, 150 for the second, about 200 for the last. Total assessment points, 34. If you get an E, you don't get your diploma, even if you do fantastic on everything else. It is a piece of independent research. And your supervisors will be able to help you with methods, concepts, and theories. And just sort of to remind you, if you haven't been in touch with your supervisor, get in touch. If you haven't been able to get in touch, let me know, and I'll see what I can do to help you, okay? Be reminded that the World Studies EE, if you're doing one, is very tricky. A couple of you have already reached out, and Mr. Stillman and I have met on Zoom with you. If you have any questions about your World Studies EE, please, please, please be in touch. Remember who does what. Your supervisor is going to help you refine your topic, make recommendations about sources, provide expectations for documenting and citing. When in doubt, go to OWL, O-W-L, Purdue, as in Purdue University. They have a great website with a bunch of resources about the different styles of documentation. You've also got a media specialist. We're not in the building, but she's available. Her name is Michelle Alexander. And if you want to email her to get some suggestions about sources, please, please do. The TOK teachers next year for you will be Breuer, Hinsbark, Koenig, or me, Nancy Shea. And we are going to monitor and grade your assignments, let you know when things are due, make sure that you turn things in on time. If you don't, you will get lower grades. My job is to provide guidance, help you with supervisors, contact parents, and determine the viability of your candidacy. We'll talk more about what I mean by that later. What do you guys got to do? Engage, develop, refine, investigate, document your sources, meet your deadlines, communicate. That's got to be one of the most important things, communicate. And then adhere to the subject guidelines and rubrics. We've talked about this before. You are all card-carrying members. No cards. You're not card-carrying members, but you are ambassadors for truth. Our credo: truth is bigger than, more important than rumors. Internal deadlines equal external deadlines, and the square root of EE is excellence. So my point here is this. I already had one student call me on my telephone, my cell phone, because you all have my number. And she said, the first thing she says, "Hey, Ms. Shea, how are you?" And then she said, "Because you told us that truth was more important than rumors, I decided I better talk to you in person, because there are all these rumors out there that the class of 2021 doesn't have to do an extended essay." Well, that's not true, okay? So she called me, and I thought that was brilliant. We'll talk more about internal deadlines and external deadlines a little bit later in the show. Due dates matter. This is the document that's posted on our website, and it's posted on Manage Back. And this slideshow presentation is also on Manage Back. And you'll be able to find all of these documents. And you'll notice that your next big deadline is your second draft. It's about 3,000 words. You submit it to Manage Back, and you schedule at the same time, you schedule a meeting with a supervisor. I have heard through the grapevine that several of you are pretty much like 90 to 95% done with your extended essays. You go ahead and schedule your meeting with your supervisor now. Having said that, teachers are a little overwhelmed at the beginning of the school year. Maybe at the end of next week, shoot them a quick email, let them know you're ready. Your second reflection has to be entered into Manage Back by the 24th. Then your complete draft is due the 22nd of October. And you are going to schedule a meeting with your supervisor, and your supervisor is going to, you're going to write a note, not a reflection, but a note. And the final draft is December 3rd. We'll have a big party on December 4th. And then we'll just kind of, you'll have your viva voces, and we will just enjoy, A, that it's over, and B, that it was done so well. Manage Back. Don't forget, this is not only where you record information, reflections, ideas, conversations with your supervisor, but it also has this treasure trove of information. Just want to remind you that the deadlines are here as well. Mrs. Day shared them all, okay? And notice the student has done one of the required things, but he has yet to do the second. And I'm going to have to talk to his parents about that. Here are the materials. You've got this PowerPoint. You've got this great checklist. You've got this great all-in-one that Mrs. Pyre created. It's got resources, information, all of that. I want you to take a look at this. And after the show tonight, I encourage you, a little light bedtime reading, to take a gander at this and celebrate the fact that this document, I believe Mr. Stillman was crucial in creating this, tells you exactly what you need in your paper in order to get a good grade.
Can I just say that that's a really important document to look at, folks, and is worth your 10 minutes?
Huge.
Because if you don't know what you're shooting at, you're going to miss.
And we have had fantastic papers that were lousy extended essays. Why? Because the student didn't adhere to this. They wrote brilliant analysis of arguments, but they got D's or C's. And they should have, if they had done this, go through with this checklist, they would have gotten A's. So criterion A is primarily your introduction. So that could be your first paragraph. It could be your first 3 or 4 paragraphs. Then criterion B would be throughout, as would criterion C. Criterion D is just, did you create a paper that uses correct grammar and has a cover page? And we'll tell you more about that requirement later. Double space, page numbers. These are things I would start doing in the draft, right? I frequently have students come to me with their, final copy. They haven't put their citations in yet. Then they have to go back and find where every quotation or data point came from. And it's really, really cumbersome. And it's very important to get that right. So do it now. Engagement is primarily going to be derived through your interactions with your supervisor, especially the viva voce, which is the last interaction. So it's really, really important that you take that seriously. A lot of other great stuff in here, including all those subject guides. If you haven't accessed it, do. Access it, do, because it's really going to be crucial to your success. Dr. Stillman had given you some advice back in February. I'll just sort of very quickly breeze through it. And I want to remind you, though, actually, I'll let Stillman breeze through it. Do you mind?
Sure.
I want to remind you that
I'm not a doctor. I just play one on at school.
Sure.
Yeah, I kind of forget what we did here, but let's go ahead and get started. Oh, that's a haiku. Nice. Let's continue. Okay, we can continue through that. We've already done that part.
I added JSTOR here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Free JSTOR until January. Folks, really important to take advantage of that, because one of the things that they need to see on that checklist is academic sources. You can write a brilliant analysis, but if all you're citing is the New York Times, you're going to get dinged a little bit, right? So like you want to come up against an academic argument somewhere in your paper and weigh it.
Okay, moving on.
Okay, this is search terms. If you're still looking for stuff, right, this is something you can do is you got to get creative with your search terms and start to use synonyms, start to use compound words, figure out different ways to narrow your search so you find what it is you need. Whatever you need is out there, because we live in the golden age of stuff in terms of research. You just need to lay your hands on it. So once you find one thing you need, look in the literature review, because that's where you're going to find clues as to where the rest of it is. All you need is one breadcrumb, and it's going to provide you with the rest of the crumbs to get you back to grandma's house. All right, I'm on a roll. Right, and when you start seeing things together, it's a citation circle, and that's really nice to have. Two authors that cite each other, really nice. Okay.
Okay.
Don't use Schmoop. I don't think people use it anymore, but you're probably using Reddit. You can't cite that either. When kids do that, it's great for like background reading and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't count for a paper like this where you're trying to show that you understand how academic writing works, right? You don't need a ton, you need enough. It's only 4,000 words. So as long as you get that specific stuff that gets to the heart of your argument, everything else is kind of framing. But you got to identify what that specific stuff is, no matter what your subject matter is: science, social studies, group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4. All right.
Yeah, and just remember to address methodology, right? And remember that that needs to be in that introductory, sorry for cutting you off, Stillman, introductory part of the paper. And that that language, the use of the word methodology is really apparent in the rubric. So go back to the rubric, go back to that checklist, which is based on the rubric, and make sure that you are providing that information. And at any point you have a question about, well, what is methodology, right? Email your supervisor, email me, text me, do whatever you have to do, okay? Make sure you've got a question, got a concept or a theory. Anything else from here, Stillman, that you think is essential?
Yeah, just make sure you're weighing the strengths and limitations of that evidence somewhere in there. It doesn't have to be a ton of it, but you have to make sure you're talking about why this evidence is good, why this evidence is limited. And if you do that a couple times, it's really helpful for criteria to see.
All righty, thank you. He also, wait. Yeah, Heidi and Tejas. Tejas, I apologize. I didn't get a chance to fix the slides, but I think now is a good time for us to have some stories that inspire us. Heidi came to Mr. Stillman and me, or I can't remember. Stillman, were you part of that? I can't remember. At any rate, she had some information that she had gotten, and I suggested, or we suggested, that she dig a little deeper and go to the source. And so Heidi's going to tell us her story, and Tejas has a sort of a horror story about his extended essay that has a very happy ending. So Heidi first, and then Tejas, please.
So the EE that I'm writing is a theater EE. I'm going to be comparing like ancient theaters with modern multi-purpose theaters and see how they differ architecturally in terms of acoustics. And I first started off on the internet, found that a lot of the sources were either very long-winded. Oh, sorry about that. Very long-winded, and honestly didn't go in the right direction that I needed it to. So I referred to one of my friends. She's an old IB student. She graduated about 2 years ago. Her name's Mallory Hartman, and she just took a course on the exact topic that I'm researching. And I had interviewed her for a while, and then went to one of Miss Shea's checkup meetings, and then Miss Shea was saying that while it was good that I had a direct source, it wasn't sufficient enough because Mallory was just a college student. And yeah, so I got in contact with a professor from UMD who had involvement in the Globe Theatre in London, and he's actually an acoustics expert. And yeah, we sent some emails back and forth, and then he talked to me, and that's pretty much it.
No, that's fantastic. So she actually conducted a Zoom interview with a professor in her field just by reaching out. And he talked to her the first time for about 45 minutes, and they're scheduled to talk again. So that's fantastic, and I'm proud of you. Kay just emailed me about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, with a sad story. He had taken a couple of pathways with his EE, and he discovered that neither of the pathways he had pursued was going to yield an extended essay. So Tejas, why don't you tell us how that all went down?
Yeah, sure. Can everybody hear me all right? I think my audio might be, it's all fine. Okay, awesome. So I was actually one of the first people to get called out of the little lottery thing, and I was very happy to get economics. And I had a couple topics in mind, and I sat on them for a bit, and then when we finally got the assignment to do our pre-planning draft, I was doing mine on Indian tax reform, and I thought it was pretty solid. My introduction, I was very happy about. Table of contents, I was all pumped up. I'm like, yeah, 4,000 words is gonna be pretty easy. Then came the time for the 1,500 word draft, and that one also came fairly easy. Because I didn't go too in depth yet. I just did the headings for each section, the introduction, and then this is when it started going downhill a little bit. I started looking for actual data, actual literature on what I was researching, and I was coming up with not much at all. And then I looked back at my paper, and I said, okay, this is all summary. I've not done any analysis yet. I was gonna look at my data and didn't do that, and I was just not finding any literature at all. So I kind of blundered a little bit. I didn't reach out to Ms. Shea, or I didn't reach out to my advisor, and I said, screw it, I'll scrap it. I deleted the document and I moved on to another topic. I said, all right, let's study healthcare in England, and it doesn't look like they're doing too well, and see, how that market's failing. And I wrote another 1,500 words there, and then I hit the same brick wall. I said, oh God, I'm just summarizing everything instead of doing some actual analysis. And, I started having some horror stories go through my head. I thought of the story Michelle told at that meeting about the one person who failed their EE and had to write it during college. And then I saw a story online about the only way you can fail your econ EE is if you turn it into a history EE. And I started losing it a little bit. So I was at my desk for hours, like trying to figure out a way to make it work. Thought about texting Michelle a couple of times. I was like, no, I'll just get through it. I can do it, because I've never really had to, reach out like that before. And then finally one day, it just was not going. I said, the worst thing that can happen is she'll tell me, no, you can't switch. I texted her like, yo, Michelle, it's not going too well right now. I know it's probably not, because we're already like 6-7 months into the process, but can I switch to English? And, that was like best day of the quarantine so far. She's like, yes, you can switch. And that was so great. So I had a couple ideas in mind. So we scheduled a meeting to talk, make sure we didn't go down this kind of similar path in the English way too. And we talked, we discussed different topic ideas, whatever that document is where it has all the guidelines for it, this subject guidelines. Yeah. And I'm eventually settled on doing John Steinbeck's Grapes of Wrath and his criticism of capitalism and how he constructs that argument. And, I ordered the book, read it in a couple of days, and sat down for a couple of hours. I already bumped out like 2,000 words. So it's coming along really well. I'm so glad I reached out, because if I probably would have kept on putting it to the side. I could say I'll work on college essays, I'll work on this, work on that, push it off down the line. But I'm glad I got it over with, and I'm feeling pretty good about it right now. So yeah, that's all from my story.
It's a great story, right? And I think the key part of it is he didn't really want to reach out. He's never had to do that before, right? It's awkward. It's uncomfortable. You lose confidence. But as soon as he did, I answered right away, and boom, we landed on something within days, and he felt so much better. So I would encourage you to reach out early and often. And Stillman, are you still here? He's been Zooming all day long. Just keep in mind, this methodology slide is on Manage Back. And you just want to take a look at this paragraph here. I'm not going to read it to you. I'm going to move very quickly. Just don't forget, methodology, how you go about getting your information is important. Okay? All right, moving on. Don't forget subject guide. And I've been so pleased every time I've sat down to talk to a student about their paper over the summer, they've quoted parts of the subject guide to me. If you don't know your subject guide in and out, get back to it, read it, okay? The rubric, it's very much similar to that checklist we looked at a few moments ago. It's the same document actually, but without the check boxes. So you want to take a look at it. Again, what Stillman said is true. You can write a brilliant paper, but if it's not an EE and doesn't write to the rubric, isn't written to the rubric, demands of the rubric, you won't get a good grade. Speaking of getting a good grade, Mrs. Pyer. Mrs. Pyer, did you make it? She was trying to get on via her phone and was having connection issues. Bonnie, are you here? I can't hear you, Bonnie.
It looks like she's on the bottom of the list.
Mrs. Pyer, I think she just can't hear us. She was on her phone. Well, she was going to do this much more eloquently than I. But the things that aren't on the rubric that are so important is the investment. Like the two students who just spoke, they care enough to do the things that we asked them to do in order to make the paper theirs, really theirs. I asked Tejas, he said he wanted to do English. I said, well, what interests you in English? And he landed on something immediately. And we were able to work from that. And so he showed his engagement. He showed his stick-to-itiveness, as did Heidi, and I'm sure many others have as well. You've got to be loyal to the task and do it not as a back burner assignment, but something that's very important. She's still trying to get on. And you have to, in addition to being diligent, you have to be passionate, engaged. Mrs. Pyer, did you make it?
This is a miracle.
Yay! Snaps and claps, everyone. Snaps and claps.
Hello, everyone. Hello, friends. It's so nice to see all your nice faces. Like this is what it's all about. Thanks for your patience, Ms. Shea. I'm mobile, so I was either getting audio or video, but not both at the same time, and it was vexing. I caught some of Ms. Shea's remarks, and I caught a lot of what your wise classmates were telling you about the EE process, and I think that's amazing. And I know Mr. Stillman set an inspiring tone at the beginning of the meeting. Am I up to date so far?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So I won't take too long because I know you've been listening, and I know we've all been Zooming quite a lot. But when Ms. Shea asked me to talk about the intangibles, I guess I sort of zoomed way out for a moment, to use the word in its old sense. And I really thought about, the fact that you chose this program, that you've had lots of options for how to do high school, and there are lots of really good, viable pathways that people can take. And, you took this pathway. And I remember in my old days, people would always ask me, you know, outside of anybody who had knowledge of IB, oh, well, how is that any different from AP, or some other questions that betrayed their lack of knowledge. And I didn't know how to say it back then exactly, but the answer is the core, right? I think you know that. The answer is TOK, CAS, and the EE. And I think that over the past year, you've seen some value in your TOK thinking in a new way, and in your CAS activities that really let you put your knowledge out into the world in a meaningful way. And this is the third leg of the stool, the EE, right? This is where you demonstrate in a concrete way the knowledge, the skills, the values, the priorities, the curiosity, all those things that you've been developing since you became part of the program, or since you were a small child, even more likely. So, you know, we operate at these two levels. One level is like every day is a grind, and it's hard, and it's even harder now, and we're just trying to get it done and check it off our list. But then, like in TOK, we kind of come up for air and step back and look at it and say, oh, wow, look what I've done. Look what I know. Look who I'm becoming. And you know, that's what should be motivating you to stick with the EE when it gets hard, and stay in touch with your advisor or supervisor. And, you know, be proud, not just of the product, but of, you know, the struggle that led to the product. So yeah, as I say, I won't keep talking for very long, but that was what I was really thinking. Like, this is your chance. And this is really all that we talk about with the learner, with the IB learner profile and the core and all that, just really coming out into the world in a way that you can share and be proud of.
Thank you. So wonderful. Snaps and claps from Mrs. Fire for her insight.
Thank you, everybody.
And you all remember this. This is a person who knows what she's talking about. She's been there, done that. And
it's
so
true.
In addition to being the only person any of us knows under the age of 75 who uses the word vexing, she is a proud RMIB graduate. And it certainly
very proud.
Exemplifies all of the characteristics of an IB learner. And how lucky am I to have two such amazing, smart, caring, conscientious, diligent, I can't say enough, colleagues in Fire and Mr. Stillman. So thank you both so much. I feel inspired to go write an EE.
Thank you, Ms. Shea.
All right, so moving on back to Manage Back. This is the reflection. This is the one that Joshua apparently hasn't done. That one was due back in June, 150 words. I went into somebody's today and I noticed she had written like, I don't know, 300 words just in the first reflection. If you look at the rubric, it says you can only have 500 words total, 1, 2, 3. So shoot for these numbers, okay? If you have questions, let me know. Don't forget, we are very much going to be thinking about self-management, using our time wisely, meeting deadlines, managing stress, seeking help when you need it, be resilient. And self-management is going to be a key component of our advisories. And I am personally going to monitor your attendance in advisory, because I want to know that you're there and you're contributing, and that you have an outlet for some of your stress and anxiety. To that end, Mr. Jellin and I are also using a form. Students will be getting this within the week. It just asks for your name and asks you to verify that you understand these things. You understand that internal and external deadlines are real. You understand that in order to produce your best work, you need to contact your teachers about 72 hours prior to a deadline. If you need to talk to them in order to write a reflection, you need to verify that you know where all of your dates are and all that stuff. TOK assessments, we don't have that information yet, but we will. And we also need you to understand this. This is key. I am aware that a failure to meet deadlines for IAs, theory of knowledge assessments, and or the extended essay will result in a meeting, including you, the student, your parents, Mr. Jellin and Ms. Shea. I understand that my status as an RM IB DP student will become provisional if my work is late, which could result in my removal from IB classes and disqualify me from earning the IB diploma. It is essential for your well-being, for the integrity of the program, that you hit your deadlines. Not just to get something in, but to get something in that you care about. And your parents will also be asked to sign this form, and it's from our memo of understanding. And sorry. You'll be getting that, as I said, as will your parents in the week ahead, probably. So that's my email address. That's once again my phone number. You've had it for probably a year. If you do text me, please state your name first, because I don't necessarily always know like who you are. And what I want to do right now is just go to, I'm going to stop sharing. Oh, you're all still there. Awesome. I'm going to go to the chat, and I'm going to have to flip up to the beginning to see if there are any questions. Oh, Dayang, I apologize. I haven't gotten to your revision yet. Dayang is someone else who has worked tirelessly, really, with Mr. Stillman and me over the summer. And she's done great work. It's such a, and when we were working on it the other day, it was the three of us on a Zoom. And I just felt like I was having a great conversation, Diane, you know, about something that was really intellectually interesting. And it was just very comforting to have that exchange. So even if you're doing fine with your EE, you just want to talk about it, I'm happy to talk about it. Okay, any other questions? All right, if you missed the due date for the first reflection, but have now completed it, what are the consequences? If you live in my house, you will be doing the dishes for an entire week. But since you don't, it's fine. We are not in school yet. In moving forward, you will get a 0 in the grade book, because that's a TOK grade, okay? And that's good to know. So I'm glad you asked that, Emma. Are there any other questions? Is there anyone else who would like to share an awesome or not so awesome EE story, just to sort of get it out there and maybe have some people chime in?
I have a question.
Sure.
How many times should we attempt to reach our supervisor before we?
Oh, thank you, Diane. Here's what you should do. If you've reached out a few times and not been able to contact your supervisor, email me and just let me know who that person is, and I will work with you and them to get you the feedback you need, okay? So just email me. And I would say if you've reached out twice and you haven't gotten anything, just email me. We'll take care of it. We'll take care of you. Anybody else? No, do I see any hands? No. Oh, Pierre.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering if I've had an informal meeting, you know, not something like the Viva Voce or whatever, with my supervisor. Is that still something that would have to report on ManageBack or?
Okay. So there are 3 interactions, and if you look at the due dates, we tell you which ones require an official ManageBack interaction. So go to the due dates, and you can find them in ManageBack and under Files, and you'll see which ones require that first, second, and third reflection. And the third reflection, the one that's called the Viva Voce, that's the crucial one for that last part of the rubric. And that one doesn't take place until you finish your paper. Like, you don't make any changes after the Viva Voce, right? You go into the Viva Voce with your final product, and it's like you're not defending a dissertation, but I hope that you have that kind of feeling of joy, of completion in that Viva Voce conversation. So yeah, the first interaction should have been recorded in early June. And if it hasn't, rehash in your mind the conversation that you had with your supervisor and get 150 words out, heartfelt. If you never talked to your supervisor after that first draft, then contact me. Let me know. Let's work with this. Let's move you forward. Okay? Pierre, anybody else? Or
Yeah, no, I was just so wondering if it's like an informal thing, it's not part of that. Is there like a place in there's okay, good, okay.
you're not required to, but you can. Now there are two different places where you can record stuff. Diane, where were you? You were recording information and reflections. Is that what that tab is called? I can't remember.
It's the researcher reflection space.
And that's not the one that you need to wait. RPP, yeah, right. That's not the one you need to use. You need to use the one, I forget what it's RPPF, but I forget what it stands. Reflection of Planning and Progress. Yeah, sorry. Anybody
So they
else?
can use the, it's the planning and progress form, right?
Yeah, that's the one. But the other one, they could, like Pierre was saying, let's say I, have a chat with my supervisor, but it's in between drafts. Should I record it? And my answer is you don't have to, but if you want to, don't put it on the RPPF, put it in the other space, the reflection space.
It's I think it's the opposite, Ms. Shea.
Oh, really? Do you have managed backup?
I'm gonna.
While we're waiting. You know what? I can do this too. Yeah, let's make sure we get this right. Stay with me.
Yeah, Ms. Shea, actually, so I think it would be the researcher's reflection.
Right. Planning in progress. That's where you put your reflections. I apologize for that. The researcher's reflection space, that's what Diane was talking about. That would just be for notes like we talked about blah, 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 just for you, but it's not necessary. So yeah, RPPF is planning and progress form. And that's the one that you have to do. And there will, there'll be points for that in TOK. Anything else?
Where should we be like approximately in the process right now?
So your next draft is due September 10th, and it will be 3,000 words. So, close at least to 2 or more. Right, and it's a balancing act, right? It depends, Diane, where are you with your college essays, right? So.
If you feel like you're behind, folks, you could write 3,000 words this weekend. There is no problem doing that. It's giving birth to it that is the trouble, right? Think about what you want to say. You've been mulling this over for several weeks now, and start creating, and it's going to feel better, and you're going to see where the struggles are, and that's going to make it easier to know what you have to do to get this done. It's about getting started.
Jump in, jump through the hoop, just jump, right? And we'll be there to catch you. Just let us know. I feel like we should have a closing like song or handshake or something. Mr. John, you got any ideas?
Wait, I have a last question about like IB in general. So like some of us have like 2-year textbooks, textbooks for like 2 years of our courses. Should we return those when we're supposed to be returning our books on Thursday? Or should we like just keep them?
Well, are they for things like chemistry, biology, physics, history?
Yes.
My best guess is to say hold on to them. Jelen and Stillman, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that one. That is a very good question. But I think if you know that it's going to be the book you're going to use for the upcoming school year, then hold on to it.
Thank you. All right, next time we have a whole class meeting, I'm going to send you song lyrics in advance. And we will have a song that we sing together. For now, we're going to do our handshake. This is one I used with my writing college essay. And the only reason I like it so much is that it's really cool to look at when everybody's doing it. Dayang, we see you're gone now. Bye. All right, here it is. You don't have to do it yet, but you're just going to go like this. Okay? So that's our handshake, and that will be goodbye. All right? 1, 2, 3. Cool. All right, have a great evening. Keep in touch. Let me know if you need anything. We love you. Mwah, 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 mwah.
Much, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, Miss Shay. Thank you,
Thank
Miss.
you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Shay.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Miss Shay.
Thank you. Hey, Dylan, those were good contributions by the students.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
No, this class is, they're on point.
Yeah, how do I turn this thing off? Do I just stop live stream?
So yeah, when you end the meeting, the Zoom meeting, this will also end.
Oh, okay.
So then what I would suggest though is when you go back to your YouTube, channel, or like, it's called like your YouTube live page.
Sure.
You'll see this video is processing there.
Okay.
What I would suggest though is that you trim it, because there was a lot of stuff on the beginning and then the stuff on the end. That would be my suggestion.
No, I think everyone wants to see that.
Agreed.
Okay. And then what do I do with the link?
So then there's there should be a link that you'll see that just has the URL that you can share.
How do I share it on the website? Do I?
I think we make an email compose an email for Cindy to send out.
I feel like we should, do we have our own Canvas page?
Not yet, but I need to do that.
That would be a good place to save everything.
Yeah, you're right.
Parents have access to it. All right, Thank you. Bye. Michael, do you have any questions? Or 240-888, do you have any questions? All right then, everybody.
All right, take care, Michelle.
Yeah.